solve the number 1. Somebody tell me, what is the correct answer? What is negative 54 plus negative 23? Reagan. There we go, negative 77. Number 2. What is the correct answer to number 2? 78 plus negative 24. Caitlin. 54. Negative 23 plus 65. Negative 23 plus 65. Michaela?
That would be 42.
Is she right with 42?
Yeah.
Negative 45 plus 25. Negative 45 plus 25. John? Negative 20. Do we agree with him?
Yes.
62 plus negative 29. 62 plus negative 29. Alice. She says 33. And finally, negative 87 plus negative 12. What's it going to be? What's it going to be, Paige? Negative 99. Good job. All we're doing is adding integers, right? Okay. Now, something that you need to know. Do the integer rules only apply for integers? No. Integer rules will apply even when you're adding and subtracting or multiplying and dividing rational numbers. And that is what we're going to be doing. You will be adding and subtracting rational numbers. So, here we go. To add rational numbers, the same rules apply. That's all there is to it. And that's the one thing that kids tend to forget. They forget the integer rules because we're not doing integers anymore. But if it's a positive or a negative, the rules still apply. Okay? We also have other rules that apply. What do you know about adding fractions? In order to add fractions, what are you going to absolutely have to have, Trenton?
Common denominator.
Common denominator. Good. What about adding decimals? If you go to adding decimals, what do you have to do in order to add decimals? What do you have to do, Caden? Line up the decimals. Good. Those are rules you have to know and you have to be able to follow. So, I have negative 8/3 plus 5/6. What am I going to need to do first? What do I want to do first? Gabriel.
Find a common denominator.
Common denominator. Get common denominator. We also call that the least common denominator, typically because that's going to keep that denominator the smallest. So what's my least common denominator between 3 and 6? What number would I want to use as my denominator? Tanner?
6.
6. And if I do that, what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So I've got to multiply this by 2 and this times 2. I have negative 16/6 plus 5/6. Now, I use my rules, my integer rules with positives and negatives. What do I end up, what is my final answer on this one? What is my final answer, Aaron? Oh, I sure did. Thank you. I did put a... Thank you. Okay. What's my final answer, Savannah? Okay, she says 11/6. She says reduce that down to 1 and 5/6.
Negative.
Is there anything wrong with what you've gotten here so far? You gotta keep the negative. You gotta keep the negative. Please let Landon in. Okay? Otherwise, everything you did there, Savannah, was great. But don't drop out the positives and negatives. Okay? We're still dealing with positive and negative numbers. We're just got fractions and decimals. Okay? Took it up a step. Are you okay now? All right. Okay, I got a decimal. What do? What did you say we have to do when we add decimals? Class? To add decimals, we have to do what? Line up the decimal. This is imperative. Okay? Now, I've got an integer rule. Which sign am I going to keep on this one? Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number, then it'll be exact. Okay, so which sign am I keeping, class?
Positive.
Positive. Okay? And so then I subtract 7.62 minus 4 and 5/100. And what is the final answer? The final answer is, Cooper?
3 and 57 hundredths.
3 and 57/100. Do we agree?
Yes.
Okay. Do number 1 on your own. Showdown. What's the final answer? Good. This should be -5/8. Your common denominator in this case was the 8. So I have -7/8 plus 2/8. Then you had to apply the integer rules. Same sign add, keep, different sign subtract. Keep the sign of the bigger number, and then it'll be exact. The bigger number is the -7/8. You keep that negative and subtract 7 minus 2. Okay? Do number 2. Take care of number 2. See what you get. Is that one throwing some of you off because one's a mixed number and one isn't?
No.
And if it does, what should I do to 20/3 in order to make that easier to deal with? What might I do with it there, Mr. Drew?
Simplify it.
I might turn it into a mixed number. Okay? So this actually becomes 3 goes into 26 times.
I made a mixed number.
Does it become this way?
Would it be a negative?
Well, that one's not. But when I turn that like this, then this one's still -6 1/3.
Make that a number 2.
Could I have turned it into the mixed number?
Yeah.
Sure. I could have, instead of going this way, I could have made this mixed or improper, which would have given me,
And then 9.3.
I could have gone that way, yes. Either way, yes, yes. Showdown.
That's 1/3.
Okay.
I'll give it silence.
Is it positive or negative though? That's the question.
Positive.
That is a positive 1/3. Okay, we got some differences here, so let's figure it out. When we turn them both to a mixed number, I have a negative 6 1/3 plus negative 6 2/3. Which one is larger? Than 6 2/3, right? So then I would have subtracted the difference. 2 minus 1 is 1/3, and the 6's would cancel each other out. So I would have kept the positive sign for 1/3. The other idea was to change the negative 6 1/3 to an improper fraction, and your end results are going to be the same. Either way is acceptable. Okay, as long as you show what you're doing. What is number 3? What's our final answer on number 3? I have 2 plus a negative 7 halves. Is negative 7 halves one that you want to deal with?
No.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. What's your sign? What should your sign be? Okay, as I walk around, I'm seeing that this one is equal to this. I'm seeing it this way, and I'm seeing it this way. Which one is correct?
Negative.
Is it positive or negative? And you gotta be able to tell me why. Is it positive or negative, and why? Zoe,
It's because the 7 has
so it has to be what kind of a number then?
just
The negative. Very good, Zoe. You are correct. This is incorrect. Good job. Okay. Fist to 5. Where are you at in understanding? We're just adding rational numbers. All right. With that being said, there is your assignment.